Hey everybody, good morning. Today we get to take a look at 1 Kings 14. We see the judgment on the house of Jeroboam, who is the king of Israel, 10 tribes of Israel. Then we see he dies, and we see Rehoboam, who is King Solomon's son. He is we read a little bit about him, and how he judges in Judah, and then of course when he dies, and his son takes his place. But I'm gonna read some passages here because both of them have something in common here. We're starting down here in verse 7. It says, God, this is God speaking, because I exalted you from among the people and made you ruler over my people Israel, and tore the kingdom away from the house of David and gave it to you, and yet you have not been my servant as David, who kept my commandments, who followed me with all his heart, to do only what was right in my eyes. But you have done more evil than all who were before you. For you have gone and made yourself other gods, and molded images to provoke me to anger, and have cast me behind your back. Now, that was to Jeroboam, the king of Israel. Now to Rehoboam, it says, Now Judah did evil in the sight of the Lord, and they provoked him to jealousy with their sins which they committed, more than all that their fathers had done. For they also built themselves high places, sacred pillars, and wooden images on every high hill and under every green tree. Now those were to other gods. And there were also perverted persons in the land. They did according to all the abominations of the nations which the Lord had cast out before the children of Israel. See, so you see that both kingdoms, the Lord, the Bible teaches us that authority comes from the Lord. And the Bible teaches us that all good things come from the Lord. And you see what these two men of very high, the highest prominent place in society, they're kings. And they teach the people to turn from the Lord. And that's not what God has given them the authority for. That's not what God gives us authority for. That He doesn't give us anything that we have, whatever authority level we have, whatever place in society we might have, or our jobs, our families, all of this, He doesn't give it to us so that we can go ahead and turn our backs from Him. He does not want us to turn our backs from Him. He gives these to us because He loves us, and He wants us to have good gifts. He wants us to have good things. And what we do with them really dictates His response after that. In order for God to continue to bless a people, in order for God to continue to pour out His favor, the people need to stay in His will, and the people need to stay honoring and worshiping Him. And we're reading here in Kings, in the history, that they just aren't. And what happens? God ends up taking them from the earth. God ends up taking away their name from the earth, their family from the earth, and they don't end up with the history that God wants them to have. They end up with a very difficult history. And so maybe that's our message today is the history we leave behind is in direct relation to how we honor God. And if we honor Him with all our heart and we chase after Him, and you know what? Yeah, we all mess up from time to time. We all do it, myself included. Every one of us. None of us is perfect. But it's what we do in those situations that we do mess up. Do we come back to God and pray for His forgiveness and ask for the strength to continue? Or do we just say, okay, you know what? God, I just keep in my sin and forget You? So it's what you do in your life, and what we do in our lives is a direct relation to the history and the legacy that we're going to leave. And It can be a great legacy. It can be a wonderful legacy. Or it cannot. It's your choice. Have the Lord involved or not. Have a super day, guys. I love you all.